In the middle of Kenya's historic election. It is a strike whose crisis is almost unseen, unfelt, or worse still, ignored. It is an almost forgotten crisis which no one seems to want to solve or even to talk about.
But for those who haven't returned, we advertise those positions and then we recruit afresh.
I'm Dr. Mercy Korir, and we delve behind the headlines over the nurses' strike. Health workers in Kenya have been making headlines in most dailies and broadcast channels, both locally and internationally. Industrial actions in the health sector in Kenya's recent history.
The Kenyans who are dying, it should not be blamed to the nurses. It should be blamed to the government. So it is their prerogative to protect its citizens.
Strikes by both doctors and nurses kicked off on 5th of December 2016, but 10 days into that strike, the nurses called off theirs, armed with an elaborate return to work formula agreed upon with the two levels of government.
The strike for the Kenya National Union of Nurses that started on 5th December 2016 officially suspended.
The doctors would hold on for a dramatic 100 days.
The strike is hereby called off.
After which they fizzle into the backstage and in come the nurses taking the podium. 2nd March 2017, the deadline for getting their collective bargaining agreement signed comes with nothing but goodwill to ride on.
We agreed under goodwill that we want to extend the period upon which the CPA can be concluded. So fortunately, we engaged the two levels of government, the national government and the county governments, and we agreed on a CBA, which was now awaiting signing.
It is 5th June 2017. The nurses' union called for a fresh nationwide strike. Talks had collapsed. Their demands had not been met.
Usaidizi hakuna, kulipa ilipwa. Alafu uko tunafanya nini? Hakuna dawa ya uchungu wamefungia yote.
Hakuna nyama, hii mguu yako ilivunjika yote. Siku 4 bila kuoshwa. Halafu anakuambia nazi alienda na funguo.
Here at the Coast General Hospital, the situation is getting worse by the hour.
Inaelekea mahali pabaya. Kwa nini watu wasijali uhai wa binadamu?
We are actually in front of the Mbagathi Hospital here in Nairobi, where just a few minutes we were inside to try and have a look and assess how the situation is ongoing.
But the nurses felt that nothing was moving and the government had left them with no option but to down their tools and paralyze public hospitals.
You know, during the initial strike, we agreed that counties are going to discuss with the union to sign collective bargaining agreements, each county to sign. And that process, I understand, has been going on. And at the end, it seems it is stalled.
In terms of financial implication, the draft CBA proposes Kenya shillings 40 billion, 366 million, 442,400 over and above what was approved in the return to work formula.
Early in the year, in February 2017, when the first meeting with COG and the County Public Service Board was held, starting off the CBA process. At that point, and in consultation with COG, we provided the framework to guide in the negotiations.
Council of Governors have no issue signing and implementing the CBA, as long as SRC approves it. Then as SRC communicates and says, we cannot approve the CPA until the Council of Governors tell us they have money to pay to implement that CPA.
The nurses were of the opinion that the 47 county governments headed by a chairman at the Council of Governors was ill prepared to handle the devolved health function, particularly the human resource aspect of the sector.
January 2014, health as a function was haphazardly transferred to national government, to county governments without following due process of the law. And that's where the problem came in.
The young and new devolved systems of government found themselves between a rock and a hard place. While the country's purse strings are held by the National Treasury, the county government seemed almost at their mercy, not able to alter their wage bill significantly without consensus with the national government.
SRC never gave the necessary, it gave guidance, but the negotiation did not conform to the recommendation of SRC. And therefore, in absence of that, no objection, it is necessary for the county governments to continue negotiating with the union.
They are saying they cannot give 26,000 nurses 10 billion per year. What is the logic of giving 4,000 employees 8.2 billion and you cannot give 26,000 employees 10 billion?
County governments cannot afford any further increments to remuneration for health workers, even in the coming financial year, if this money is not provided for in the division of revenue bill.
As the eye of the storm that was the nurses' strike grew, the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Dr. Cleopa Mailu, seemed to give it a wide berth.
Wazingatie sheria na waone ya kwamba vile wanavyosema vitu ambao zimeleta utata katika hiyo CBA zinaweza kusuluhishwa tukifuata amri na maagizo ya ile taasisi inayoshughulikia mishahara. Kwa hivyo ningewasihi tu waone kitu ya maana, lakini bali na hayo Wakenya wanaendelea umia.
This hands-off approach seemingly passed the buck to the county governments. Efforts by other cabinet secretaries to resolve the crisis were porous.
We will meet both sides. We will tell them the issues the way we see it as a ministry.
But on the material day of the meeting, the nurses were stood up by the cabinet secretary.
We have been waiting patiently, but we have just been told that the CS is away, is not around here.
As Kenyans continued being treated to the blame game, those reliant on the public health sector continued to wallow in misery.
Governors, waangalie hii maneno ya nurses strike because unajua maternity tunaambiwa ni free, but now wanakuja huku walikuwa wamejipanga because they were not expecting they will pay anything huko government hospital.
Mnaenda mnakutana na kwetu Kakamega, mnatengeneza watu wakufe.
As uncertainty over the nurses' fate loomed over the country, a bigger storm was brewing inside the nurses' union. The leadership of the nurses' union was going through unfortunate infighting between John B. and the union. This was a press conference called by John B. It fell apart as other union officials and nurses stormed it and engaged in a public spat.
No. You can afford to tell.
Yes. This is our chairman. Spokesperson of the union is coming.
He is the chairman that the National Executive Council and finally the National Governing Council voted to remove as chair. When John B. and Seth Panyako met in studio, the theatrics continued.
After the job evaluation, one Seth Panyako wrote to the prime secretaries of the entire country, telling them that they should not appear.
I have to interrupt you. Let's go back to the most important thing right now. What is your position about this strike and where the process
out of your studio. I am not interested in listening to this nonsense. He has no power.
Betty Kialo had a delicate task of moderating the two nurses and at the same time trying to bring out the union's issues for you, the public, to understand.
It is a problem of our own making that the General Secretary never allowed nurses to appear before the SARA-CEREM team when they are conducting their job evaluation. Okay, we are on strike, and I have said it's a political strike. For one, There was no resolution made by the National Executive Council.
What do you mean it's a political
of the
strike?
Union. There was no resolution made. This is a political rhetoric. And if you can allow me to speak, I honestly
we're not talking honestly. I have no time for this man here. You
so
are
what we are
much
saying
out of
is
street,
that
I'm not interested in this kind of nonsense.
Okay,
I
John
want to
B.
insist
this man
that this is a political strike,
just leave now. You
that there was no structures of the organ or organs of the union.
At the end of that show, the infighting was now obvious in the public gallery.
You're going to allow to listen to this nonsense
Just have a seat. Just have a seat. Okay.
Is it because of
John
the
B,
Peter Truth that is waking up? Let him go if you want to go.
This documents excerpts of minutes held detailed reasons and decisions to strip John B. of his chairmanship, not once, but twice. John B., on the other hand, took his union to court over the same. Lady Justice Helen Osilwa gave orders to maintain status quo, but the nurses would have none of that.
The court has no jurisdiction to choose leaders for any organization. So according to us, John B. is a leader of the court and not a leader of the nurses.
When we have an errand member, the disciplinary system has to be followed. And when you are removed from the union, it doesn't mean the rankles. When a president decides to remove a cabinet secretary, the way Kambi Kazungu was removed, you cannot say there is rankles in Uhuru's government. You remove this one and you bring this one. We have a chair.
As one faction that seemed backed by the nurses said one thing, another handful of nurses said another.
The president was indeed right, and I want to commend him again that in his entire period of the campaign, him and deputy president, including his brigade, nobody talked about this strike because it was a political strike.
Creating more confusion. We take a short break, and when we come back, I will tell you how the media covered the nurses' strike in the middle of this political season.